Automations within Smartsheet. Once you've learned the basics of setting automations up within your Smartsheet, it will save you time, it will save you money, and it will save you from human error. All your different departments within your company will now have a streamlined workflow from end to end. This type of stuff that we're going through today is what sets you apart from some of your other competitors. This is what takes you to the next level. Automations. Let's dive into them. Hey guys, welcome to Workflow My Workload. I am your guide, Justin Orazio, and in this episode, I'm going to teach you how to save time and money using automations. And I've created a free guide for you guys. It's a free PDF guide. You can just pick it up down in the link below that covers the top 32 formulas within Smartsheet that is used across the board among all industries that use Smartsheet. It's the top 32 formulas. I give you what they are, how to use them, and how to put them within your sheet. I also have a full-length lesson. It's free as well. That's down in the link below. And that just covers the most basic questions that people ask me about more than anything else about Smartsheet. And I want to help you in getting a better understanding of Smartsheet. That video is for you. And if you've been watching these episodes, some of these YouTube videos, you've been liking them, you've subscribed, maybe you've grabbed that free PDF or that free lesson, and you're like, hey, Justin, this is what I've been looking for. This is what I need for my practice in Smartsheet. Well, I've also created a full-length course that covers Smartsheet from end to end. That link is also found down in the bio below, so feel free to check that out. All right, automations. Without further ado, let's dive into them. All right, let's go ahead and get started here. I'm going to pull up a sheet for us to run some automations in. And today, in this episode, I'm actually going to create two automations for you so you can see the difference between the two and how the setup is the same. All right, for the first automation, I'm simply going to create an automation that takes a row and moves it to a different sheet. I'm going to have, let's just say row number 2, I'm going to have that row automatically, by automation, move to an archive sheet when it's checked to be archived. And our second automation at the end of this episode would be to set up an update request. So let's start with the first automation. And again, this is going to be to archive a row once it is ready to be archived automatically. So the first thing I'm going to do for this automation is I'm just going to make a column of a checkbox just to make it really simple and clean. And I'm going to call this column archive. So I'm going to insert a column on the left, call archive. I'm going to choose checkbox. And I'm going to click OK. Click Save. Now I'm going to click into my automations for this sheet. And for those of you that don't know, all your automations are found in the top left hand of your sheet where it says automation. Just click on that. We're going to create one from scratch. And I'm going to type in here archive, give our automation a name, you can call it whatever you want. We'll call it archive automation. Automation. And with all automations, it always starts with a trigger. And the way I like to think about this is think of a hill, and at the top of a hill you have a boulder. And that boulder it's just sitting there, but it's barely teetering. It's just sitting there, nothing's going on. Well, if someone walks up to that boulder and kicks it or pushes it, then that's the trigger to start the boulder to roll down the hill. And as it rolls down the hill, it can start doing different things. It goes faster and faster. All these different things can take place the farther down the hill it goes. But it always starts with the trigger at the top of the hill. So the first things first is the trigger. And after the trigger is in place, then we have our options of all of our automations right here. And just know that when you create an automation, You can create an automation on top of an automation on top of an automation, so on and so forth. So for instance, in this one automation, archive automation, I can have it where the row is moved and it alerts somebody after it takes place, all within this one automation. Now before I get too ahead of myself, let's go ahead and start creating this automation. So we've already labeled it what we want to call it, archive automation, and now we have the trigger. So when you click here, you get 4 different options. The trigger could be when a date is reached, when rows are added or changed, or a breakdown of these, just when rows are changed or just when rows are added. I'm going to go ahead and do when rows are added or changed. The next option to choose is the column that will be used for the trigger. So I'm going to click here, and you can use a comment to do it, an attachment to do it, and then you have your columns here. I'm going to choose archive. Again, the archive column is the column we just created. So I'm going to click here. The next option is when is that trigger turned on? Is it when the box is checked or when it's unchecked? I'm going to choose checked. So when someone checks the box for archive, that entire row will then move to the archive sheet. All right. Now we're going to go down our list of automations, and I'm going to find move row. And here it is right here at the bottom. So I'm going to click move rows. And then it's going to ask me what sheet do I want to move the row to. And before this video started, I just created literally a blank sheet. In fact, it's in this tab here. It's just a blank sheet called archive sheet. I've done nothing to this sheet. It's just standard as it comes when you create a new sheet. So just so you know, just so you're aware, you do have to create the sheet first that you want the row to move to, which I did. So let's go back to our automation. I'm going to go ahead and type in the name of the sheet. There it is, archive sheet. Click OK. And if you want to, you can set a condition where after the trigger takes place, you have basically a good way to think about a condition is a filter. So if I click in here, I don't like to use these a whole lot unless I have to, because you don't want your automation to get too complex. However, this option is here, so you can say when this trigger takes place and when maybe the start date is greater than a certain date, or when assigned to is only one of these people, then it will take place. And then you can also build off the condition where you do otherwise, where otherwise this automation will take place. But for all intents and purposes, to make it simple, let's get rid of our filtered condition, and we're just going to do when the box is checked, it simply moves the row to the archive sheet. All right, last but not least, for your trigger, you can have it happen as soon as the box is checked, as soon as it's triggered, or you can have it run hourly, daily, or weekly. But we'll just leave it as when triggered. We're going to click Save on the bottom right. And here is our automation right here. All right, so let's go ahead and test it out. I'm going to go back to my sheet, and to do that, I'm going to go to the top left. I'm going to click here on the back, spaghetti noodles, to go back to spaghetti noodles sheet. All right, so let's go ahead and pick a culprit here. Let's just do the first one for flour. And to test it, I'm just going to check the box. I'm going to click Save. And to speed the process up, I'm going to go ahead and refresh the sheet. Now, it does happen almost instantly, but to speed it up, I've learned that if you refresh it, it quickens it up. Now, look at that. The row has disappeared, the row of flour, and all of its information is no longer there. So let's go to our archive sheet, and let's click, it popped up here, let's click refresh, and look at that. All of that information got poured in. Now, these columns already existed within the sheet, so I'm going to go ahead and delete these columns because they're not needed. And a helpful hint, just know that in this archive sheet, if I already had a column spelled exactly the same way as one of these, it will not duplicate it. It's smart enough to know that that's the column you want, and it will put the data within there. So that's very helpful. All right, let's go ahead and we'll save this. And let's go ahead and move on to our second automation. And we're going to send an update request. So let's go ahead and build another trigger. Maybe let's do, instead of a checkbox, we'll do when somebody new is assigned. So let me go ahead and make some data here. And I'm going to do, let's do clean up the kitchen. Whoops, spell here. Clean up the kitchen. And we'll do this up, take this out. All right, so what I'm going to have my automation do is when somebody is assigned to this row, then it will send an automation to that person to do an update request. So let's go ahead and create that. I'm going to click Save. I'm going to click into my automation. And just so you know, they do have templates. Just show you what that looks like real quick. So all the different templates of automations. This is very helpful if you're new to automations. I'm going to go create one here from scratch. And we'll call this update request when someone is assigned. All right, so we're going to do, again, when rows are added or changed. And then we're going to choose the assign to. And when the assign to column is any value, that way when anyone is added to it, and we'll do it when triggered, and we're going to do request and update. And what we're going to have it do is we're going to have it send to, you have your options. You can send it to someone specific, so you can just type in anybody's email address and it will always go to that person. It's hard coded in. Or you can do contacts in a cell. And so it's going to give you all the columns that have contacts in them. There's only one, and that's the assign to. And so I'm going to choose this option because the person that gets assigned to it, I also want that person to be the one that receives the update request. All right. Next thing we're going to do is we're going to click here where it says change your permission settings. By default, all automations start as restricted. You want to go in here to unrestricted and click OK. And what I'm going to do is, so you don't have to deal with this every single time in your sheets for automations, I'm going to go ahead and back out of my automation here. And to speed that process up, if you go to the settings here in the top right, and you just click here for unrestricted, you can also fix that as well, so anyone can utilize, the automation can be used for anyone. Click done. All right, let's go back into our update request. So to find it, I found it right here. I'm going to click here on edit. And then we're back in. Update request when someone is assigned. So when any value, when any person is put into the assigned to column, that's going to be the trigger to send an update request to that same person because they're in the same column. And what's cool is you can even have a customized message to that person. They're going to receive both an email and an alert in Smartsheet. So for that email and alert, it's one and the same as far as how it looks. I'm going to go ahead and give it a subject title and then a body. So I'm going to say, you have been assigned. And then what's cool is, if you read this information here, what this is saying is, as you build up more of a body of the message when the person receives that alert, if you do double brackets, like it shows right here, it will pull in the information that you double bracket. So for instance, if I wanted to do, let me see here. One second, look at my options here. Let's do task name. So one of our columns in our sheet is called task name. That's the name of one of our columns. So I can say, you have been assigned to bracket, bracket, task name, bracket, close it in with 2 brackets, so what this is saying is you have been assigned to bracket, bracket, task name, please update. So whatever information is in the same row as this automation, the column that's called task name, all of the information in that row that falls under that column will be sent to this person. So in other words, I created a new line and it says, please clean up kitchen. That was the name of the task. So when this person for that row receives this automation, they're going to see you have been assigned to clean up the kitchen, please update. And if it still seems a little confusing, no worries at all. Let's run the update and see exactly how it looks. I'm going to do all fields. So I clicked specific fields, but nothing was chosen. So you can have the person have the option to be able to see everything within the sheet, or you can pick specific fields that you want them to see. But for this test, let's just do all fields so you can see how that looks. Click Save. And real quick, one more thing I wanted to show you before we do that test is right here. This is where you can add even more automations. You can add an action, and then from here you can add another one, and you can just build as many automations as you'd like. But for now, just to keep it simple, we're just going to do this one. All right. So let's go ahead and let's go ahead and put Justin Orazio in. I'm going to click Save. I'm going to click Refresh. And now let's go ahead and check the email and the alert. So you're going to get, when that automation for alerting someone to get an update request, again, they're going to get both an email and a Smartsheet alert. So the first one to look at, let's look at the Smartsheet alert. It's going to be found right here in this bell icon. So we got one here waiting for us. When I click on it, it says you have been assigned. You have been assigned to clean up the kitchen. Here's our bracket. Task name. You have been assigned to clean up the kitchen. Please update. So I can click on this. Gives me more details. And right here, I can make my update request in real time right here. So in this update request, I can update it. I can choose to archive it. I can change the name of the task, the duration, who it's assigned to, completion, status, so on and so forth. I can even upload a file or multiple files, leave some comments, and then when I'm done, I just click Submit Update. So maybe I want to change, let's say, the task name, clean up kitchen, and clean up lobby. I'm going to click Submit Update. It says update has been completed. Now let's go back to our sheet, and in blue here, and just put it in here automatically, and clean up lobby. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and do this one more time and assign myself again so you can see how it looks like in email form. So I'm going to go ahead and delete myself, click Save, and I'm going to assign myself again to trigger it. Now let's look at the alert through an email form. So I'm going to go here and I'm going to click on Open Request. And before I do it, just so you know, it gives you a little summary of what's going on here. You can even go to the sheet right here. But to do the update request, I'm going to click on the button, Open Request. And here, as you can see, I can make all my changes. And maybe I want to change it to where have a nice day. I can upload some files if I wanted to. I'm going to click Submit Update. Now let's go to our sheet. And there it is in blue. Blue is letting us know it just got refreshed and it's updating the information in there. And that is how you do an automation for an update request. All right, you guys. Again, if you haven't yet already, get that free PDF. It's that guide that just gives you the top 32 functions used in Smartsheet. It's free. It shows you what they are, how to utilize them correctly in your sheet. Also, feel free to grab that full-length lesson that covers Smartsheet more than anything else. And most of all, hope you guys have a wonderful day. Take care, and God bless.